Won't you take me back to Tennessee?
The award-winning Tennessee Wildcast is on the air with the latest info about hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. This episode is brought to you by GSM Outdoors, whose vision is to preserve the sportsman's legacy, fuel innovation, and enable the next generation of outdoor enthusiasts. Think outside. That's where you'll find us. Now, make welcome your host, Jason Harmon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee Wildcast. We're glad you're tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We got an awesome show lined up for you today, and Mr. Don King is helping me co-host.
We sure do, Jason. Hey, how about a quick radio shout-out?
Let's do it.
You good with that?
Let's do it.
WOKI over in Knoxville. We appreciate them so much. News Talk 98.7. Saturday, 1:30 to 2, Wildcast plays on their air, and we appreciate them as well as the other stations around the state that carry us.
Definitely. Got a lot of stations out there that run the show, and we appreciate them. That's a cool time slot, 1:30 in the afternoon.
Oh, yeah, I know it. Yeah.
So if you miss it in the morning on the other stations, go over there and listen in Knoxville at 1:30.
Right, exactly.
Well, yeah, we do appreciate our partners and appreciate you guys out there watching, listening on your favorite podcasting app, on YouTube, following us on social media. So, yeah, appreciate y'all doing that. And I'm excited about today's show. It's all about fishing again, and we're happy to have Crispin Powley with us, the Vice President of GSM Fishing and GSM Outdoors, and it's going to be a fun conversation around some crappie and all that kind of stuff, and we got some cool giveaways, right?
Yeah, well, I'm excited to be back. You guys do a wonderful podcast, and we're 100% on board as a company and personally. These are my people. This is my this is my thing. So thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
And you know when a guy is totally sold in the outdoors when he names his son Fisher.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
Yeah, he'll probably end up playing tennis or something. But he,
I doubt it.
I tried to at least start him down the path.
Yeah, there you go. I like it.
Well, speaking of Fisher, he's had some success in the woods this turkey season.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I think we're going to talk spring fishing today. Mm-hmm. But I was telling you guys before we came on the air, spring to me is go turkey hunting in the morning, go fishing in the afternoon, and I can't hardly separate the two. And I do. I would have to say turkey hunting is one of my favorite things, and that is one thing Fisher has certainly adopted as my son, because he loves it, and we did. He got rained out of a baseball tournament, so had an opportunity to go get into the turkey woods, and had done very little scouting, but. One of the joys of GSM, we own a few trail camera companies, so I happen to have a surplus of those planted around my farm, and we had a really rainy morning. I actually let him sleep in, and finally just kept watching the radar, and loaded him in the truck, and we drove over there and sat in the truck for an hour with it pouring, because radar's never exactly right.
Yep.
Finally, when the rain quit, I said, if you'll stay with me when this rain stops, those turkeys are going to come out in the fields, and we ended up probably about 9:30 in the morning. We called up a couple gobblers. We switched locations on the farm, and one cut me off on the first call, and it was just textbook.
Game on from there.
Walked right up to our feet, and Fisher shot that bird, and we walked up there, and I said, "What do you think, son?" And he said, "He made a business decision, Dad." And I don't guess I'll ever forget that as long as I live.
That's good.
So from now on, anytime one gobbles up into the morning, I think he's making a business decision. So
I love it. Now, that wasn't his first bird, right?
No, I don't know off the top of my head. That little guy's been pretty fortunate.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say that's probably his fourth or fifth gobbler.
Awesome.
So
yeah, that's cool.
He's about to be 12, and he shot a buck. I know he shot one until this changes age or deer season, but he shot 12 bucks then he'll be 12 years old. So that one's easy to remember.
Oh, that's cool.
Over the course of his life. So
helps to have a good guide in the family too. Though,
I really kind of put the guide role first now with my family.
Sure,
and,
yeah.
If if I never pulled the trigger on one, but I got to watch some young person, even that, not my kids. I've taken probably 20 people to shoot their first turkey, and there's nothing like it.
Yeah,
That's
awesome.
So it's a different phase of life for me, but one I enjoy and one I hope someday he inherits as well.
Yeah.
So.
Well, there's nothing like taking your son or daughter out there and getting their first bird, first deer, any of that.
Funniest story, and I'll keep it brief, that my daughter shot the first bird she ever shot, I think was during the juvenile hunt. It may have been maybe opening weekend of regular season. This has been 3 or 4 years ago. And it was one of those, real mature jakes. He'd gobble, he'd strut. He act like he was a gobbler in his mind, right? But he had a jake fan, and he had a little beard, and we after church snuck out and I eased up to this field, and I saw him out there with some hens, and I couldn't tell he was a jake at that distance. And we actually I had a blind set up, and I snuck us into that blind, which is pretty hard to do with about a 9-year-old girl. And we get in there, and I call, and he gobbles, and I said, "It's fixing to happen." I said, "You just get your gun, point out the window. Here we go." And as he's coming across the field, I can see his jake fan. And I said, "Baby," I said, "he's a jake now." I said, "I just want you to know I explained to her in the moment, and he's kind of making his way across the field." And she goes, "Well, it's legal." And I said, "Yeah, of course it's legal." And she goes, "We can eat him." And I said, "Yeah, we can eat him." She goes, "Well, I'm going to shoot him then. I've never shot one." And I said, "Go knock yourself out."
Yeah, go
and
for
so she shot that bird, and we, hugged, took pictures. And I've done this thing with my kids, and I would encourage people to do this. I don't even know where I got it from, but we did it with my son's bird. Every time at the end of a hunt, when we get back to the truck, I put the tailgate down. I'll lay the turkey up there beside them, and I turn my phone on and go, "Tell me about your hunt today." Because I think there'll come a point in time in life where
That's awesome.
my daughter Reese said the funniest thing I've ever heard a turkey hunter say. She goes, "Well, my first bird," she goes, "he's a jake. He's not a gobbler." She said, "But when you do what a gobbler does, you get what a gobbler gets." And I was like, "That's gold! Like that should be on a shirt or something,
There you go.
But
Wow.
yeah, it's there's nothing like it. It's been the most rewarding hunts of my life, most memorable hunts of my life. Been packing those two around.
Good for you for recording those moments, because man, that's golden. I've got some tapes of my daughter, back in her singing days,
Yes, sir.
back when she was 5 or 6, and every now and then we'll pull those out and listen to them.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the tear rolls down my cheek.
Yeah, for sure. I lost my parents when I was really young, and maybe it just made a pretty strong impression on me of the value of memories and the value of let's not take this for granted. Let's make it last forever.
Yeah,
and
right.
with today's technology, it's just kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, definitely. That's very cool. Very cool. Well, let's transition a little bit here. It's June will be here before you know it, and Free Fishing Day will be here
Oh
before you know
man,
it.
June 7th.
Yeah, June 7th is Free Fishing Day this year. Bobby Wilson Free Fishing Day.
Exactly. I was gonna say that.
Yeah, I'm still in your lines, Don. What comes after Free Fishing Day? Free Fishing Week. Come on, Don.
Oh
You got
yeah,
this.
yeah. Free Fishing Week
Yeah.
for youth. Yeah.
Yeah, so the youth get to fish for free all week, kids 15 and under. So June 7th and then June 7th through the 13th for the kids. So anyway, keep that in mind. That's coming. I'll be here around the corner. And speaking of fishing, it's spring fishing, and we're talking about spring fishing this show, and we got some cool stuff to give away. Let's highlight some of the stuff real quick, and then let's dive into to how we can use it.
Yeah, man. I mean, spring fishing is whatever you want it to be. But if you say, hey, in Tennessee, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about fishing in the spring? For me, it's slab crappie. It is anywhere you go in the state, those fish are shallow. There's a lot of them. I mean, obviously the limit's 20 a man on Kentucky Lake where I live. So obviously we believe there's plenty of them for everybody. And they're really easy to target this time of year. So we're going to spend a little more time focused on crappie. And I brought some stuff to give away on behalf of GSM and in partnership with you guys. Well, the first thing I brought, you can't go crappie fishing without thinking about crappie eating.
Oh, yeah. They fry up real nice.
Absolutely.
My mouth begins to water.
Yeah,
just talking about
it is literally a delicacy in this part of the world, in my opinion. And one of our brands is Cuda. And we came out with this cordless electric fillet knife this past year that's just the best tool I've ever used to clean fish.
Awesome.
It's got 2 lithium. It comes with one, and then it's got a backup lithium-ion battery. One of the coolest features about this, it charges off of the same USB-C cord that if it's 2025 and you've adopted that you have an iPhone usually that works with this. It's kind of a running joke amongst my people. On job interviews, I ask people what kind of phone they have because I hate those little green texts. But with that being said,
those Android users.
No, exactly. It's 2025. You're killing somebody's text thread with your Android. But and I have no affiliation to Apple. But this thing's got an 18-month warranty. Like it's a beast of an electric knife. And
awesome.
The thing. It's a lot of fun to clean or catch them. It's a lot of fun to eat them, but it's a little bit of a chore to clean them.
Sure.
And we've tried to make that where that's not the case.
Yeah,
so,
that's awesome. That looks like a cool knife. I'll have to check those
very
out.
ergonomic. It's got a case, couple extra sets of blades. So we'll give that away to somebody. And then I just brought some crappie baits, some of my personal favorites.
Hold them up on this side of the mic so people watching at home.
I don't know which camera.
Kind of chest high.
Okay, how about that? Can you see that?
That'll work.
A little higher. I think.
Little higher.
Yeah.
So Bonehead is one of our brands that we own also, and it was kind of a pet of mine. I love to crappie fish, so we acquired Bonehead a little over almost a year ago, and we build these in Alabama. They're made here domestically, and it is a very, very. I brought one of each different size and style, so it's a nice little sample pack of Bonehead products, and I brought the corresponding jig heads as well. Right.
Awesome. So
so some lucky listener is going to be set to catch some crappie and clean them. And all I want to call when the grease gets hot.
I love it. Well, let's remind folks how they get their name in the hat. So here recently, we've been requesting that you tag a friend in the comments. That's been doing really cool way to get your name in the hat. So if you're watching on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube out there, tag a friend. You can tag friends on all those platforms.
Oh yeah.
And,
spread the word.
That's how you get your name in the hat. You keep spreading this show and introducing it to other folks, and we'll put your name in the hat to win some of this cool stuff. So that's how you'll get your name in the hat, and we'll remind you before we close out the show as well. So like we said, it's springtime. Now's the time to get your stuff ready. So don't wait till the last minute, which it may be already last minute now, but go ahead and go out there in the garage and get your rods out, dust them off. And if you hadn't been fishing all year, and what's some of the tips and tricks there to just be ready?
Yeah, I would always tell, and I've been guilty of this. I've got a lot of friends that are real guilty of this, but line's kind of the cheapest part of this equation.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty critical link between you and that fish you're trying to catch. Yeah. Put some dang new line on your reels.
Yeah.
and if you're taking somebody fishing, don't send them out there with janky year-old line. It's all coiled up. It's going to break. Take 10 minutes to put a new line on a reel. And, today's world crappie fishing, I use braided line, and it does last. It lasts significantly longer than monofilament or fluorocarbon, and then I'll tie a fluorocarbon leader.
Okay.
So my braided main line, my bass reels, I'll change it a little more frequently, but on my crappie reels, it'll last for a long time. So a little bit more money on the front end because it's a little more expensive, but you get a lot more life out of it.
Sure.
And this stuff's made for spinning reels. It just handles like silk, and you can't hardly break it, and it's a good deal. So put some braided line on your spinning reels if that's what you use. That's what I prefer. And take a tip I learned when I was a kid. Take a Q-tip and put it in all the guides on your rod and spin it. And if there's a crack, it'll catch some of that cotton fuzz and pull it out. Yeah. And there's nothing worse, and we've all been there. You've got that fish on, and you just it's the one you came here for. Something happens and you lose it. It breaks off. Your line gets broken or cut, and you can mitigate a lot of that with just a little bit of preventative maintenance on the front end.
I feel like he's talking to me because last time I took my son, I was tying a bait on for him, and I was like, this is the best knot you could use. I think it was Palomar. I was doing Palomar knot, and I was like, it's going to be good and tight. You're gonna, and I pull it tight, and it pops, and I'm like, dang, that's an old line.
Yeah, right.
So I'm going to go change my line.
I love the Q-tip as well. Yeah, that's great.
I can't remember. I'm reading something when I was I've always been kind of a fishing junkie since I was a kid, and I remember I'd get my rods out every so often and run a Q-tip through all the eyes, and it does. I've found cracked guides. That ceramic is.
I bet. Yeah,
it'll crack.
Yeah. So do you suggest oiling your reels and things like that?
Yeah, I'm not the best at it, but I do suggest it. That's the do as I say, not as I do kind of deal. But I
Especially
think,
if you drop them in the water.
Oh yeah.
yeah. I mean, they've got metallic parts in there that come in contact with each other. So any type of a gear lube or reel lube, that just gives it a little, that helps with anti-friction, and it's going to make for a little better experience for you too. I don't know if you've ever been out there and and so yeah.
Again, he's talking to me now.
We haven't discussed this, so this is all off the cuff, I promise.
So, and like you said, check the eyes. I had that on my notes, so we already hit that. But yeah, inspect your rods, inspect your reels, and inspect your line. Make sure it's all ready to go. All right, so let's talk these crappie. So we got the baits. We're out there fishing. What are we looking for? Shallow, deep, structure?
I would tell you that not all fish do the same things at the same time, right? Mm-hmm. And I think once you get comfortable with that, for me as an angler, it allows me to go, hey, I know they're not all doing the same thing, so I'm not going to miss it. There's always going to be some doing what I like. Okay. And in the spring, I like to target shallow cover. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite ways to crappie fish is so old school, but it's still, if I could pick one way to go crappie fishing, this would be it. And I'm talking post, forward-facing sonar, the whole 9 yards. If I around where I live, the New Johnsonville area of Kentucky Lake, up to where I grew up around the Paris Landing area, in the spring, it's a ritual for me that I'll take and catch them under a float. And I mean, I'll go to bed at night and see that float go under with my eyes closed. There's nothing like it, and it's pretty easy for lesser experienced anglers, but it's also very effective. Even if you've got a lot of angling experience. And what I like to do is fish stake beds. Our lake is full of them, Kentucky Lake, and I could relate this to about any body of water in the state, but just as a reference point, shallow flats and shallow gravel banks that are near a channel or deep water. That's what you're looking for. Okay. Especially the ones that the sun shine on earlier in the day. They warm up. Any type of gravel or rock also helps kind of expedite the process, because those fish just kind of know when the water gets to a certain temperature, it's time to lay eggs, and they go and look for suitable places for that. So depth nearby. A firm bottom with cover. Now, in this case, I'm talking stake beds, which are man-made, right? Okay, people drive them, and they look like tomato stakes, and they'll be as big as this room or as small as this table. And I like to put a bonehead bait on a bonehead jig head. I put it, depending on water depth, but 12 to 18 inches below a float, and you cast it past the bed. And you just kind of shake it back and reel it back, and your little bobber will be going under, and it'll just.
So speaking of the bobber, I'm glad you brought that up. Is it like the little stick bobbers, or is it the round orange ones, or the red and white ones? What do you like to use?
I use a balsa bobber. One of the brands we own also is Carlisle Floats, and we make a pear-shaped float that is, for me, So a few of the things with bobbers, the longer they are, the more line twists you get, right? So if I can kind of minimize that, I feel like I make the experience a little easier. And the more shorter, compact ones just seem to cast a little. It's like a bullet. The same, we're not going to get as deep as like coefficients and all that, but a bullet, a smaller, shorter bullet just flies a little easier through the wind. And the stick doesn't. So I would recommend a pear-shaped float, and I don't care if it's plastic or balsa, whatever's easiest. I like balsa. And man, it's this. And another thing to think about, you're talking about knots a moment ago. I like to tie a loop knot rather than a Palomar. I'm a Palomar guy also. So we're on the same page there. I do think it's the best knot for most all applications. But when I'm fishing a jig, and you've got a bait that you want that bait to be horizontal. Okay. You want to tie a loop knot, because it lets that hang perfect with the 90-degree line tie on a jig head, and it'll keep that bait perfectly horizontal. Okay. Minnows don't swim through the water like that.
No. So gotcha. Yeah. Good tip. I like that.
Right.
I'll have to go and learn the loop knot. I've seen it, but
super easy.
I don't guess I've
literally, it's as easy a knot as there is to tie.
Yeah. So you mentioned leader earlier on your braided line. Are you running? How much leader are you going to run with that?
Personal preference. when I'm crappie fishing, I use the length of my rod just as a reference.
Okay.
Or another thing I do commonly if I'm kind of in a hurry and I'm putting an entirely new leader on, I'll grab the spool and I'll go one strip. The length of whatever my wingspan is what my leader length would be. Bass fishing, I'll do 2 or 3.
Okay.
But with crappie, I typically do 1.
I got you. So you're doing a leader on bass too?
Yep, I do.
Okay, with the braided line.
Yeah, I just think as everything in life has evolved with technology and materials, and we should, in theory, get better and know more all the time. I think that most of the time when you can, a braided line to a fluorocarbon leader is the best option.
Okay. And this is getting very specific probably, but I mean, folks probably want to know this. Is your float above your leader, or is it on your leader?
No, it's on your leader.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Because
and you're working with different depths too.
Yeah, that's right. So let's say that I've got, let's say I've got 8 or 10 pound braid as my main line, and let's say I use a 6 pound leader, which is kind of what my crappie setup would be. And I use fluorocarbon. I just think it's got some inherent qualities that make it better. I would tie a loop knot to my jig head, put my soft plastic on, and then I would put my clip on float. I don't use a sliding float. I actually use a clip-on float. Okay. And I've got lots of buddies that use a sliding float and a bobber stopper. They cast even better. But I don't know. I've just kind of learned how to do that little roll lob cast where that and then I pull up there. I'm on my depth finder. Or I tell you what I really like to do, and I don't get to do it as much anymore, but it kind of brings back good memories. I like to crappie fish from the bank. I really do, because you can reach so much shallow cover without having to have a boat. Yesterday on my way home from a baseball tournament, I was coming through Dixon, and there's a lake, and I don't even know the name of it, but it's right off of Highway 70 there.
Okay.
And it's a beautiful day yesterday. There's cars and trucks all down the side of the road. But, every 50 yards down that lake, there's a tree laid down. And I'm like going, I bet there's a crappie in that tree, And so it's really not, there's not a great barrier there. Like you don't have to have this $high boat. You don't have to have a boat. You can catch them off the bank. And the way that I'm talking about fishing is really easy for everybody, no matter. The float and the bobber thing gets a little more difficult when you've got tree limbs that have Ys where you'll pull your jig head into that. But vertical cover, crappie just, when they spawn, they like cover. They want to be around. Growing up around the Paris Landing area, it was buckbrush. The water would come up. When the water got in the buck bushes, we'd go wade in the back of creeks with our duck waders on, with lawn poles and dive around.
Yeah.
And, it's so much fun. And so it's a lot of fun, man. It's a great time of year.
That's awesome. Well, and you mentioned from the bank, just think about, when we put these stake beds in, or some of our volunteers, these fishing clubs and things help out with that. They're doing it when the water's down, and they're walking right out there. So it is bank accessible, a lot of it.
Casting distance.
Yeah.
And actually, last spring, my son and I may have gotten him out of school early one day, and we went up to Paris. Yeah, maybe. If I recall, I don't remember exactly what the time was of the day, but one of my favorite just kind of honey hole spots up around Paris Landing is it's a TWRA marker buoy with a brush pile under it. And it's as obvious as it gets. Like, you don't have to be very, very skilled to go, hey, there's something under there, and you can throw over there and catch a fish, and then you just drop your power pole, sit there and catch all you want. You know? So
that's awesome.
And you can find those online, right?
Yeah, you sure can. Yep. Our interactive maps, GIS puts those together, and they do a great job. So you can find that structure. You mentioned temps, looking for that warmer, where the rocks are catching the heat and a little bit warmer, but
I'm so hesitant to just give you a number because I don't know it. I mean, I can tell you that
the fish know it.
They do know it, and like I said, they still don't all do the same thing at the same time. I've caught spawning fish in late May. I've caught them in February. I mean, it's my rule of thumb has always been, if you can get in the spring, if you get a 2 or 3 day warming trend, go. It doesn't matter what the water temperature is. You get now you hit a warm day and then it gets cold. I mean, if you can go, still go, right?
But definitely go when you can go.
But go with confidence after a 2 or 3 day warming trend, because they're going to bite.
Sure,
they're going to get up there shallow.
Yeah. Okay. And then if you're gonna, if you got morning or evening or all day, what do you like?
As with all outdoor activities, it's pretty special early. It's pretty special late. Where I'm at in life with work and kids and such, I just kind of go when I can. I remember Kevin Van Dam's a great friend of mine, one of the most legendary anglers ever. And I remember asking Kevin one time, because I'm just trying to pick his brain. I want to learn, and I've asked him some of these similar questions. Well, what moon phase do you like? What barometric pressure do you like? And he looked at me and he goes, I like when I get to go. He goes, whatever it is, that's what I've got. Yep. And I've got buddies that are incredible outdoorsmen that are bound to moon phase and barometric pressure. And, according to the moon phase, this period, and I think there's some validity to it.
Yeah.
But I also just go.
I got this note down. Be patient. Just be patient.
Yeah.
Get out there when you can go.
Yeah.
Just keep fishing.
Some of the best days I've ever had weren't the greatest catching days. It was days where I had no cell phone service. Maybe I don't know.
Out there with your kids or your wife or your friends or whatever.
And I'm fighting with them over breaking my rods and reels and tying knots and everything. And you look back and go, that's a pretty good day.
Yeah. You spend most of your time tying it all up.
Yeah, I'm the guide now. So,
well, before we run out of time, let's mention this the giveaways again. So we got the Cuda electric fillet knife, comes with 2 blades, an 8-inch and a 6-inch, 2 batteries, you said?
Yes, sir.
Recharges on a USB-C type charger, so that's, what more could you ask for? It's pretty convenient there.
That's right, yeah.
So keep that close to your tackle box or your fillet table. Keep it in your drawer for anything else at home.
It comes in a nice case, too.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yep, I actually keep one of these. I've got a topper on my truck. I keep one of these in there. I can charge a battery coming to meet you to go fishing.
Yeah.
So it's super convenient.
That's awesome. And the baits, again, what was the brand name?
Bonehead.
Bonehead
Tackle. Yep.
So Bonehead Tackle. Look them up. If you want to go see some of these products, GSMOutdoors.com. Click brands, and you can scroll down. A lot of the fishing is there all together in that section. So
we actually have a standalone website at GSM called baits.com.
Okay, cool.
Which is kind of our online retail site, but it's got all of our fishing products in one place.
Nice.
Perfect. Baits.com.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. We'll have to check that out. Thank y'all for watching and listening. Thank you, Crispin, for bringing these products to us. I look forward to giving them away. Remember to like, follow, subscribe to us on social and your favorite podcasting platform. Hey, leave a review while you're there, too. We don't often get those, but if you like the show, leave one. If you don't leave a review.
Right.
And click the stars there. Rate us a little bit. No, I'm joking, but we appreciate y'all. And tag a friend. That's how you get your name in the hat. So tag a friend on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, and just engage with us. We appreciate y'all doing that and love giving stuff away and sharing this information with you. So, Crispin, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us. We're honored to be part of this and believe in the same mission. So
Awesome. Don, I appreciate you.
You bet. Looking forward to the next adventures of Crispin's youngsters, too.
And me too. And also, I'm looking forward to that day he brings Kevin in with him. But we do have a 4th mic we could put up. So,
that's right.
We could have a Kevin Van Dam episode here. So
that'd be a good one.
No pressure. No. Anyway, thank you guys. This is Tennessee Wildcast. Keep coming back, and we'll see you next time.
Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, X, and Instagram. You can invest in Tennessee's wildlife future by purchasing a license at GoOutdoorsTennessee.com. That's GoOutdoorsTennessee.com.